Hi, my name is Gerhard Schwantner and welcome to Selling Power's Daily Report. Today we have the pleasure of speaking with Ron Hupscher, CEO of the Sales Optimization Group. Ron, what is the best process for negotiating?
One of the things that we find that's really critical in negotiation is to understand first off that, one, you're the number one choice. What we find is a lot of people go into negotiation without knowing that they're the clear winner. And they believe they're going to price cut their way to number one place.
So if you have 1,000 salespeople and they give a $1,000 discount on a big deal, then you lose $1 million to the bottom line.
Exactly. And then you multiply that by either a price equity ratio of 15 if it's a public company, or your EBITDA if it's a private company, and you're talking about a significant haircut in market valuation of the firm.
So how do we avoid the haircuts?
So one of the first things you want to make sure is that you do a superlative sales effort. And I think one of the common misconceptions about sales is people buy price. And in a complex business-to-business sale, and for high-ticket items, people don't buy price, they buy risk. And if in your sales process you can show that you're the least risky solution, price becomes almost irrelevant.
Now, there are so many buyers that go to negotiation seminars and so few salespeople that learn how to negotiate effectively. Why is that?
We're taught how to sell, but not how to finish the sale with a positive negotiation. And one of the things that's really interesting is if you're the number one choice, they want to buy you. Now the next step is, what price can I get you at? And they're trained just to say, where can I squeeze you? What can I get out of you? And it's interesting, a lot of salespeople are not prepared to respond.
So what do you do if a client comes to you and say, Ron, your services are terrific. I read your references, I looked at your proposals. You want $50,000 for that 6 months training program. I have only $30,000 in my budget.
There's two issues that I would look at there. One, earlier in the sales process, you want to ferret out the budget issue because you want to be proactive and be preemptive on that. If you're sort of in a reactive mode, you go, great, Gerhard, tell me about your budgeting process.
Well, what if I said, that budget got just cut last week?
When I look at the budgeting issue, I look at what other places budget can come from. And if there's no other place where budget can come from, I look at, where's the next budgeting cycle?
If they say, my boss asked me to keep that expense lower because we need to allocate some of the funds for some other things that we haven't had in the budget.
And one of the things I always try and do is refocus back on value. So we look at, if we do this project correctly, we're creating X amount of dollars of value. And it's really interesting, a lot of companies don't do that analysis up front. So they don't know the value they're creating and they're left to defend price. So what I typically like to do in part of my negotiation strategy is always talk about the value created to the customer.
So what you're saying is be prepared and anticipate a price negotiation and build value up front.
And one of the things that we stress with all our clients is to create some kind of value creation mechanism. So the way we sell our business is we talk about what a 10, 20, 30% increase in sales is going to do to your market valuation.
So how do you do this? By asking questions or by asking them to put a price tag on the change that you're going to be responsible for?
Yeah, absolutely. What we do is we work in a collaborative fashion. So we work with them, we talk about their gross margins, their net margins, their current price earnings ratio. And we actually do this as a collaborative effort. So it's not me telling you what we're going to do for you, it's us doing it together in a collaborative fashion. And the numbers that we talk about, if you take a $100 million company and you say we can help you double your market valuation, the marginal difference that we charge becomes negligible. And we actually very rarely get into any kind of price negotiation. People say, when can you start?
How do you work on a compromise when a lot of people say, let's split it in the middle, and then you're caught in that?
Instead of cutting price, why not say, in order to make sure this project's successful, which is what we all want, what if we can offer you an additional 2 weeks of training, or give you on-site training, or give them something that helps continue lowering the risk that's not a dollar for dollar trade-off. The cost of training might only cost you 10% of the value of that training.
What about if the buyer fakes the decision maker but is not really the decision maker?
To me, you should never have been in that situation, right? A good salesperson would have ferreted that out along the way. And I think one of the interesting things about negotiation is that people oftentimes are in a negotiating process before they've done a thorough sales process. And they're trying to discount their way to number one, which is just a terrible position to be in.
Those are interesting ideas that salespeople can apply on any sales call practically. Tomorrow we're going to continue our conversation with Ron Hupscher on the importance of goal setting.